about myself. I actually was born in a Champa village in Vietnam and came to America when I was 6, so I guess I would be considered the 1.5 immigration generation that they were talking about. And I think that's a really unique position to be in because I get to stay connected to my roots and my language and my culture, but at the same time have the opportunity to grow up in America and basically go through the American education system, which is kind of what's led me to medical school. So the reason that I decided to pursue medicine was actually because of the Champa community, and I wrote this in my personal statement when I applied for medical school. And why I wanted to be a doctor was because I wanted to bridge the gap between our community and the medical field. If any of you have been to a doctor's office recently, you'll know that you get 15 minutes with the doctor, 20 minutes if you're lucky. So you know that health doesn't happen in the doctor's office, it actually happens in the community. And we all know that your health outcome is influenced by your education level, your income level, and the social, cultural, and language barriers that we face as a community of new immigrants. And so I think why I went into medicine was to bridge that gap and to be that person to really connect our community with the medical field.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Asra, and to just recap, and we're running out of time as to what led me to the field I'm in. I guess I'm pretty lucky. I grew up with a father. My father is Haji Muhammad Idris, and my mom is Haji Isa from Modesto. They've always encouraged me to pursue higher ed. My dad in particular, even now, he's like in his 70s. Every night he reads his books day in and day night in different languages, so he always instilled in me a love for learning. And I think I grew up with kind of education always being a factor that was most important, even though both my dad and my mother never had any formal education in Vietnam and Cambodia. So with that in mind, I ended up going to do my bachelor's at UCLA. I also ended up doing my master's there. And I'm very lucky. My twin passions in life are using education to empower both myself, my family, and our communities. And then recently I've had a chance to use film to empower and tell our stories. So my day job is technically advising student affairs and working with students, much like Muhammad Birafin. Did I mess up her name completely? Okay. Mr. Mansour over here, being able to work with first-generation college students, talking to students day in and day out, and just talking through what are your goals. And one of the things that I would recommend for the youth is figure out what you like as soon as possible. If you think you like film, if you think you want to be a writer, go in and jump in and do that. Sometimes you think you want to do something and you completely don't want to do that. I thought I was going to be a psychologist. I switched my majors 3 times at UCLA before ending up doing international development studies. And then for grad school I did something completely different and found film. So whatever it is you want to do, get in there and try to do that. And I'm very lucky very blessed to be able to do both.
So we're just going to ask one more question, and then we will open it up to Q&A. So the next question is, why do you think it's important for Jam youth to consider the field that you're in, and what are some of the steps they can take to start getting into it? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go. Sorry. I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier. So if you guys are interested in politics or policy, the way I started is, I did an internship, and that's just to get a flavor of, I did it for class, not knowing whether I was going to be doing this later on, but it was something that I really became interested in. So, if you have some kind of interest or interested in just seeing how things are, I think the best way is to, you know, and one way to get your foot in the door is to do an internship and figure out if that's what you like or don't like. And then go from there. Like many on the panelists, I switched my majors several times and took several years to finish, not the 4 years. And so that's, you know, it's something, if I think in any field that you want to go into, you know, taking classes is one thing, is all theoretical, and you study, you see, you know, you read what's in the books, but to know if you really like it and if that's what you want to do, then, you know, trying it out, an internship is the best way. I wanted to do international politics initially, and I did an internship at the UN and realized, not so much. So that's how I kind of, you know, it was a process of elimination more for me. And why is it important? Why is politics and policy important? Because it impacts all of our lives. What we do, you know, you don't think about it, but a lot of, you know, the social services that our community and many of, you know, minority communities depend on, you know, the budget, the legislature works on a budget every year. And the state of California, you know, our budget is $100 billion plus. And so, you know, there's advocates for every issue and every segment. So if you want your voice heard and you want, you know, your community's voice heard and to make an impact, then it's really important. And whether you are involved directly or not, like, you know, what I do, but if you're involved in your community, you know, there's another avenue as well. So a lot of it is just, you know, impacting everyday, you know, the lives of Californians.
One thing I would say is tests and trials, right? One of the biggest things is it takes a person 7 different career change to understand what they really would like to do. And that's research studies been told a lot of time. And one thing in education that I found myself very fascinated is that education is very vast, right? Education is a field that you could get into, and you could go from one and you don't want it, you could leave, right? And you could find something else that you probably, you know, like or whatnot. But one thing I would say is education is vast, meaning that you have to learn from not just in institutions. You have to learn from our elders, you have to learn from the youth, and you have to create change within ourselves, and most in particular. One big thing is that, you know, when you want to find something, you have to go out there and do it. If you don't do it, you will not know what you want. And you know, if you don't move from one thing to another and you get tired, we're young. You know, we're young no matter what we say, right? If you don't like something, change it and try something else and push yourself. And you know, you want to see something that you like. And you know, sometimes money does not buy you happiness, right? And sometimes, you know, you could be the most richest person and you want to commit suicide. So find something that you feel fulfilling and find something that you like and you want to take care of it. And you know, the thing that I found with education is that I love to help youth out. I love to let them understand what is the opportunity of education. What can education do to you? Right? The question is, sometimes you might hear a lot of people trying to push you to education, but what can education do to you? And you know, that's something that we have to ask ourselves.
So to answer your first question, why should the Cham youth go into medicine? I think it's because obviously we're not really represented in medicine at all, or even in higher education. And I can tell you, as I was going through my 4 years at Berkeley, I didn't meet another Cham person. And then as I'm finishing up my 4th year here at UC Davis School of Medicine, there's no other person in my class or in the other classes that is Cham either. So we definitely need more representation. And why do we need more representation? It's because, so a lot of times people don't put off going to the doctors because they don't trust the medical field or they feel like they can't communicate. And if you, coming from your community, can be that doctor and can communicate with them in their language and build that trust, I think that you're going to be able to build the health in your community. And I think that's why it's important that Cham youth should go into medicine. and how to get started. So medicine is a long journey. I think the 11 plus years seem very daunting to a lot of people. But I think just getting started and deciding that you want to do medicine is the very first step, and everything else is just logistics. And the most important thing is being able to find a mentor to really lead you along the way, and I'm happy to be a mentor to anyone who's interested or in medicine. But even if you can't find a CHAM mentor, because there's not a lot of us here that are going to medicine, you can reach out to other communities, other Southeast Asian communities, and reach out to mentors in those communities. And I think that with any field, having a mentor is key to getting where you want to be.
I'm just going to talk briefly and make a pitch for the CHAM youth to make films. Okay, so why film? Visibility and advocacy. So I thought, what is a good way to actually educate the community at large, American society, international folks? What is a great venue for actually being able to document the histories of the CHAM people, to talk about who we are? And I learned very quickly that film is a great way to do that, to bring visibility, to represent your stories. And and that's all it takes. I hope you all stay for, I have my short film screening this afternoon. That story is based on my family's history of escape from the Khmer Rouge. So it was based on stories that my parents had gone through. So if you have a story you want to tell, just do it. Especially with film, and my film has been it's been screened at the Cambodian International Film Festival, Boston, Seattle, San Diego, and just this last week, Comcast Xfinity Asia is screening it for free to highlight Asian Pacific Heritage Month. So that being said, I encourage the youth, anyone in this room who's interested in doing film, to just go out and do it. That's the way it works. Before I even ever took a class on filmmaking, I went to Cambodia with Julie to work at DC Cam with Farina, and we went out to the community, collected stories from Khmer Rouge survivors in Cambodia. And then later on, I went and learned how to properly do film. So you just got to jump into it, and you just got to do it, and to be a voice and to tell your stories, because we have the ability to do that now, especially with YouTube, all the advent of the internet. We have so many opportunities to be visible, and it's up to all of us to do that.
So we are gonna show Rafiq's video either later or the next session because we're trying to wrap up. But before we do that, are there any questions from the audience for any of the panelists? Any questions at all? Going once, going twice. Come on, you. We're not gonna bite if you guys ask a question. It's totally okay. No? Yes. Okay. So the question was exactly what Arvin does with education and in terms of the transition to higher education.
I work with normally high school students to promote higher education as a room as all. Education, there's technical school, there's 2 years institution. I work at a 4-year institution. I work at the University of Washington. I promote the University of Washington. I go out to the Southeast Asian community around the state of Washington to promote higher education.
I saw one other hand up. Was there another hand up? Yeah. Stand up, please, if you can. No? Okay, back there.
What information do you provide for Southeast Asian presented to the live? What resources or information, what type of contracts?
And is this for all, or is this just for Arvin?
Well, in particular, since they're focusing on the youth, I'm wondering what context
He's picking on me. He's from Seattle. But one thing that I provide when I go out to the Southeast Asian communities is that, one biggest focus is that we're majority of our communities are first generation students. Right? First generation student is, lack of aspiration first and foremost. Parents instill ingrained us in higher education for a long time. Once that instill ingrained, they lose hope when a prestige university comes to you. Right? And the biggest thing that I've tried to provide as much as possible is the opportunities and the resources around education. Rather scholarships opportunity, rather is job opportunity, internship opportunity. What is the difference between a major and a minor? What is the difference between a bachelor and a master's and a PhD? What are some activities that we can take a part of to instill and ingrain in different fields that you want to get into? A lot of people hear the big ones like engineer, nurse, business, but what are the smaller ones like psychology, communication, sociology, all the other degrees that is out there that our parents don't understand. So what is it that we want to do, and how can we really work for it? And what are the fields that are out that provide the resources that the university normally have to provide for us to get what we want to get, rather just inspiring or training from it.
And one more question? Oh, one comment.
I just want to comment that the Southeast Asian Furthering Education is sponsoring this event for a student organization at UC Davis that I actually used to work for, and who are providing the facility, providing the food, the sound, the AV, some problems here and there, but whatever. They're working with us, and they're a resource not only to the Southeast Asian community, but to the Jam community. That's why they are putting this conference on for us, because they want the Jam voice to be heard. So definitely reach out to them and talk to them, because they do outreach in the Sacramento community at Valley High School, Warren High School. I know some of you high schoolers. I saw a Valley High School student on the registration. So definitely check out their programs that are being held with these high schools and even middle schools.
Are any of them here?
They're helping with the food.
Okay, so yeah, so feel free to ask questions. And in terms of the different fields, clearly it's represented on. Oh, she wants me to talk about what I do. Let me. I don't want to talk about me. So I do advocacy and organizing. I got my master's in public policy from UCLA also, hence the shout out to Bruins. So if you guys are interested, it's along the lines of what Rahima does, except a little bit more on like the community side of things. And I did a lot of get out the vote campaigns and stuff. So trying to get people to get more engaged in voting and also running for office and in politics. I think this panel is a good representation. We do have some folks, unfortunately, who aren't here, but we have someone in politics and policy, we have someone in film, in higher education, in medicine. Our previous panelists were PhD candidates, so if you're interested in that realm, you should definitely talk to them. And we had Rahani, who is a lawyer. So there are a lot of different fields represented in this room today. We highly recommend that you guys approach them and ask questions, because going back to this whole mentorship notion, it's really important to be able to find someone to help guide you along the way, and it's also very comforting. And something that I do personally is that I have a professional mentor. I also have a personal mentor, a spiritual one, someone who's in the field I'm in, but then also someone who I can just talk to. So you can have different types of mentors too, and don't be afraid to talk to them, because it's very valuable. Their knowledge is very valuable. And another suggestion is also in terms of getting started. If you're not sure about the field you're getting into, set up a time with the person you're interested in and ask for an informational interview. Like, you can just ask them, what do you do? I'm just interested in learning more about it, and just explore that. That's another way to kind of learn it as well. We have to wrap up, but can we please give the panelists another round of applause? Thank you. We are going to break for lunch right now, and we have a couple sessions that are happening during lunch. So Bodhma is actually going to have a session, it's in this, I think it's in this main room, on the Kingdom of Champa geography, population history, and also the book that he is promoting. And Abdullah Dakwat Chow is going to be discussing the Jam script. It's going to be in the meeting room. So if people want to grab lunch and sit in on those sessions, feel free to. If you want to have lunch with some of the panelists and learn more about what they do, feel free to do that as well. And we are going to come back into this main room at a little bit before 3 p.m., so by 2:45, because at 3 p.m. we're starting on the dot. We have to leave the facility at a certain time. So it's going to be the cultural show, the film screenings. We're going to have a couple of performances as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. All right, have a nice break.